Hey guys, Kelster101 here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the recently released Panzer Dragoon Remake for the Nintendo Switch. Now to start, I would like to have a full disclosure here that I have never ever played a Panzer Dragoon game outside of this one. This is the first one I've ever played, and I've never really had a viable way of playing the series, that is until now. Jumping right into it, the first thing you'll be greeted to is a quick display of text that is supposed to convey the story. After reading it, I can confirm that the concept is intriguing, but it lacks a certain professionalism. The general terms used in the text throughout the story indicate simplicity. Now, I have been told, though, that in later games the story picks up, given the wider variety of tools available to the developers. But this begs an important question. Why didn't they just expand the story? Many might say it is because the studio behind the remake was lazy, or the game didn't have enough time in the oven. The more acceptable answer, though, is that they were trying to be faithful to the original game. Yet it seems hard to justify this answer, given that the remake of Final Fantasy VII has received universal acclaim, despite the fact that it carries very little ties to the source material. This game should have been a retelling of the original, with an expanded story and campaign, a full-fledged multiplayer, and maybe even some co-op. If even one of those things I mentioned were added to this game, it would make it an almost complete package and be the next best thing to a new Panzer Dragoon game, period. Instead, we're treated to a half-baked, choppy, ugly remake. And I liked it a lot. For the rest of this review, I'm going to treat the game as if it weren't based off of another game. To start, let's discuss the opening cinematic. I thought it looked pretty good. The lighting was smooth, the environment was colorful, and the graphics were pretty sharp. Yet it builds you up for this magical experience, only for you to let out a short sigh of disappointment when greeted to the actual game's graphics. They aren't the best, to say the least, especially given that it doesn't even run at a consistent 60 FPS. It truly puzzles me, given how amazing Panzer Dragoon Orta looks comparatively. Now there's a game that has held up. Moving on, the gameplay is quite addictive except for a couple of caveats. First, the game's controls preset to the classic controls of the original, which works fine enough except when trying to move around your dragon and aim at the same time. That's where modern controls come in. These are much more intuitive and easier to use, but again, it presets to classic, and if you want to switch to modern mid-campaign, you can't. This has to be the most outlandish design choice in a game I have ever seen. It makes no sense. I should be able to change the controls mid-game. There is one silver lining, though it could be considered a double-edged sword, and I'm nailing these metaphors, is that the game is so short that beating the game, or losing, doesn't take an obscene amount of time. In fact, my first playthrough on normal difficulty only took me a little less than 2 hours, and I'm not typically very good at video games in general. Next, let's discuss the bosses. Over the course of the 6-episode game, some bosses really stood out to me, such as Episode 4's The Guardian, or the final boss. No spoilers here, but especially the level design in Episode 4 was truly exceptional, and the boss was even more unique. Alright, let me break down the pros and cons of Panzer Dragoon Remake. Pros: improved graphics, a modern control scheme, and only a $25 price tag. Cons: while the graphics are improved, they are far from acceptable. And for $25, you're getting a pretty short experience. All this leads me back to the same thought. Why does this game exist? Its lack of content from the original and not hugely superior graphics isolates it from existing Panzer Dragoon fans, and its lack of overall content prevents it from appealing to new people. This game is an enjoyable experience as long as you are crazy about on-rail shooters like Star Fox. But that's just it. Star Fox has multiple pathways to increase difficulty and add new content through more environments and revamped bosses. Panzer Dragoon Remake doesn't do that. Now, while I did talk negatively about Panzer Dragoon Remake, I truly enjoyed my time with it, and I sincerely hope that the second remake can be what the first couldn't. Anyways, guys, that's it for me today. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys are enjoying your time with Panzer Dragoon Remake, and I'm also thinking about making a video about the development of the original Panzer Dragoon, so if that's something you're interested in, just let me know, and if no one is interested in it, I might still do it.